There's this song lyric that goes, "True perfection has to be imperfect." So that's.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting then, because can I assume that making these records isn't very easy for you?
No.
So how do you experience that then? Because, well, you realize that you can't be perfect, that there isn't.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you balance then the whole process of making a record and going through all of it?
Just it really just comes down to faith, like faith that whatever I'm going to produce is going to be worthwhile, and working on, pardon me, working on my last record that was just released, The Holy Strangers.
Mm-hmm.
It was put on me very early on that I wanted to tell this story. I went to some old like antique stores, but in America we're not talking like Ming Dynasty shit. We're talking like stuff from the 1800s,
Sure.
junk stores, you know. And you can find all these pictures of people that you don't know. Just random pictures from the 1800s, 1700s, early 1900s. And so I found the female in the story's picture. I found the male in the story's picture. I found the picture of each of the kids. And this story kept on growing, and the more it grew and the more I had to tell in it, the less I wanted to be involved. And I kept on trying to make other records, like fit these songs into other spaces, and it just never...
Why? Why didn't want to be involved, kind of?
Have you heard the record?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. There's a book that goes along with it called The Holy Strangers. If like you pre-ordered it, you got like 200 copies. I'm fighting with the label now because they don't want to print up anymore because they said they'd only print 200. But it's like, no, just print more and say that it's just not a limited edition, so it'll make that one worth more. Sure. In somebody's fictitious mind. It'll be worth more. And I'm fighting with them, and if they won't do it, then I'll press them myself. I'd actually rather press them myself because I'd make them like hardback, and I would make a whole lot more money, man. Record labels are, let's just say, you give to them more than you keep yourself.
Right.
You know, and that's just not very nice. But yeah, so The Holy Strangers, man, it was, I mean, so we're talking about like, you know, the story, I'll quickly go, you know, the story, so you have like, let's say like the beginning of time, and then you have like these two couples that they have miraculous births. Then these two miraculous births, they find each other, then they get married, things get really tough, they have a child, then he goes off to war, doesn't matter which war, it could be any war. It was just a fictitious war. At this war, he's struggling with, you know, how to kill people, how to deal with the person that he is, the person he thought he was, all these things that I bet goes through. I mean, I talk to my friends who've been in all the wars that America's been waging forever. Well, you can't call them wars because nobody's actually said, like, we're waging a war. It's just like, we'll just go in here and just fuck some shit up. Then he kills a man, and in his coat pocket, that man, he finds the Bible. The first thing he opens up in the Bible is Micah book 1, and he reads sections of Micah book 1 through chapter 1 through chapter 7, and he finds this God that gives him, that's very vicious, very damning, and it fills him with this righteousness, like he's allowed to do anything because he believes in God. I guess the moral of the whole record really is you have to be careful what you believe in.
Right.
What you're putting 100% of your faith in. And so you have these people in the story that are, let's say, following the same God, the same great eyeball in the sky, but they're getting completely different things from it, you know? And he comes back, he kills a prostitute, some things I don't want to give away the whole story,
Sure.
but you know, some things happened. She was going to murder him and take the kids. Things go wrong. Then he dies and the children die, and then we get to the end of the story. And so dealing with something like that and the record that was released is actually just not even half the record.
Okay.
The real record is 28 songs and it's almost 3 hours. And the label said they wouldn't release all of it. So what we did is we picked 14 songs that had a good arc of the story. Mm-hmm. I agreed with some of it. We took away 14 songs that we thought just filled in the story. Didn't make it longer, just kind of filled it in, you know? Mm-hmm. And then and then all the songs you hear on the record, those are all edited down to like pop standards. Some meet like 7 songs, but that will be released in the new year.
Okay.
The entire version, and hopefully the books will be out too. And so again, coming back, telling that story and really getting into that story while I'm writing this story, the details of the story. Actually, it's the most biographical record I've ever written. These exact details that are in each different character and every part of the story, they're all a part of me, and they're creepily like, I didn't plan it that way. I just thought about it one day and I started writing down the details and being like, well, that happened in my life differently, and that happened, and it just kept going. And so I just like unconsciously like made this story trying to deal with all these things that I had done, you know. And it was very fucking strange. I've always tried to do that, I guess, but for it to be like unintentional and like dealing like with some of the darkest things that like I would only tell my wife.
Sure.
But I'm masquerading in this opera that I've made. But that's the problem with calling it an opera when you're not releasing the whole like 3-hour version, is that operas have to be long. They're telling us, you know,
A full story.
But yeah, the label didn't want it.
But so in those terms, because you then go into your own morality and that must be confronting, obviously. But then, does it help at the end? Did it help making this record? Did it help come to terms or deal with certain things that you were thinking about or struggling with?
Of course, man. It's always good to get things out, man. It's always good to get things out. That's why it's good to have friends, or even like a counselor, like somebody to talk to. Like, it's important for humans, for some reason. It's important for us to be heard, because we are each and all special, and we're all going through these different things that are good or intolerable or joyous or sad or all these things. And so yeah, it's good to talk to somebody, and I noticed that that's why you call it talking to somebody, like talking to a counselor, because they're actually not your friend. They're not actually saying much. They might be asking a few questions, but it's just talking.
Right.
So it's in the sentence itself. Go talk to a counselor. So you're literally just talking to this fucking guy, and for an hour, this poor human has to sit to you talking about all your crazy stuff, man. But humans,
Well, that's very interesting, because how do you perceive then the live shows? Because in essence, it's somewhat of a similar interaction, because there's one person who has all the attention, who's speaking, who's kind of telling a story, and then there's the audience listening.
Yeah.
So how do you experience performing, and especially when the songs are so personal?
I don't. That's just like one part of it. Just like the fact that I realized that it's a very biographical record, like that doesn't affect me.
Okay.
I would probably be affected more by, let's say, songs that I wrote for a particular person or during a particular time. But with songs written for particular people, usually when I'm up there singing, I'm not thinking about that person. Songs change. they're meant for other people, you know, just time moves by, songs move, you know. And so, yeah, I'd be affected more by that than songs like The Holy Strangers. And so, yeah, it's not like, I mean, it's great to play, and it's great to tell a story. And I think I feel really blessed to have been tortured by this idea to make this record. And it's not important, like, everything that's going on in the world, and, you know, there's so much to fucking care about that not a lot of people are going to care about my record, man. But yeah, it's just nice. Yeah, I guess in the end, it's just nice to play a story to somebody, and I don't think many people in modern times are doing it in such a way, you know. And I think that's pretty amazing, you know. That's what you have to do. I mean, if the game changes, you have to change with the game or whatever, you know.
So finally then, having gone through these 28 songs and kind of telling that story, what have you noticed about where your mind is now, or where your writing is now?
I haven't had any time to write.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't had any time to write, but I guess I write all the time. Like, anytime I come up like with a little piano piece or a little banjo part or accordion or whatever the hell it is, pump organ, I'll always record it. So my little shitty phone, it's full of, you know, melodies that I've worked on and things that could easily turn to songs. And so even though I'm not writing, let's say, songs at the moment, there's, like, you know, there's always ideas hopefully coming, and once you get a nice melody down, it's not that hard, I feel, to turn it into a song, you know. And I'll be, again, with the way things are now, so I released it in September. We'll release part 2, say, in January. Then we're doing a BBC Sessions CD in March. And then there'll be a new record in September. And it'll just keep going. But it's good, man. It's good. I'm glad that I'm able to do it. And it means that I'll be able to tour. And I can, and touring is the only way that you can provide for your family. And since I have one, it's good to tour, you know.
Right. All right, Micah. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.